No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Well, Ezra, all good things must come to an end eventually. And or you could say it, what comes up must come down. And eventually you knew the streak was going to come to an end. And when I say this streak, I mean multiple streaks, of course, because the Jets coming into today's game against the Philadelphia Flyers had an 8-game winning streak, a 14-game point streak, an unbeaten streak against the Eastern Conference, a 31-game streak of 3 goals or less, an 11-game streak of 2 goals or less. And most of those, but not all of them, came to a conclusion this evening with the Philadelphia Flyers handing the Jets their first regulation loss since a 2-1 defeat at the hands of the San Jose Sharks.
The powerhouse San Jose Sharks.
The powerhouse San Jose Sharks. So the Jets have not done a lot of losing. It's not something we're used to discussing here on the Illegal Curve postgame show of late, but discussing it we will, because win or lose or draw, but we don't really see draws here but win or lose, we discuss anything that happens in a Winnipeg Jets game. So welcome to the Illegal Curve postgame show. I am today's host, Dave Manouk. He is my main man, Ezra Ginsburg, and we are here to discuss, of course, the Jets and the Flyers. The Jets, despite the attempts to come back numerous times throughout the course of that hockey game, Ezzy, fall to the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers, who, of course, played last night and won in a comeback fashion against the Minnesota Wild in overtime, and yet it's the Flyers who were dealing with some issues themselves in terms of their lineup, and we'll get into that in a little bit. They're the ones who come out victorious and win the hockey game.
Right, and it was obviously Sean Couturier and Jamie Drysdale who were out of the lineup. They played last night in Minnesota. We talked about that on this morning show with Anthony Sanfilippo. The Flyers defeating the Wild 4-3 in overtime. And obviously the Wild didn't rebound because I think is it a final, Dave? 5-0 Arizona was beating the Wild. I'm not sure if it's a final or if that game's still going on, but the reality is the Wild ain't making the playoffs this year, that's for sure. So I mean, look at the Flyers. I mean, they're battling for a wild card spot right now in the Eastern Conference, right? I'm not sure if they're currently in a wild card spot or not. I'd have to look at the updated standings, but and the Jets are going to play an Islanders team, Dave, that we were talking about this during the third period as we were watching the game. And the Islanders have the most overtime shootout losses in the entire league with 10, and they're currently third in the Metro, right? So this string of, the Jets playing bad teams is over, right? I mean, they're going to play Ottawa, so, I mean, that's going to help a little bit because the Senators aren't very good. But the Senators still have, Brady Tkachuk and Josh Norris, Vladimir Tarasenko. They've got a bunch of good players. Jake Sanderson, obviously, who we really like. But I mean, look, the Flyers were a hungrier team tonight, and I don't think you really saw the tiredness in the Flyers game until kind of late in the third period, the second half of the third period there, Dave. Then you could tell that was a team who had played in a couple of consecutive nights, right? So I think that, you got to give the Flyers credit. Cam Atkinson obviously, breaks his goalless drought with 2 goals, and the Flyers could have had more. Like they were the better team through the first 40 minutes, and it wasn't until the third period where the Jets made their push. So I think you got to give the Jets a lot of credit here for sticking in it. But you're right. I mean, the streak had to come to an end at some point, and it did tonight. And luckily, you've got some time off here. 2 days between the next game against the Islanders, and then hopefully Mark Scheifele is going to be ready to go Tuesday night.
Yeah, and sorry for folks who were listening earlier, my mic was changed the settings, unfortunately, so I switched it back. So I'm coming in loud and clear, hopefully a little bit better than I was for the first minute of the show or 2. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not winning them all, and it was an interesting hockey game. I mean, we knew that there was going to be some question marks with respect to what this Jets lineup was going to look like and how it was going to look, and warm up was particularly interesting for Winnipeg based on, whether Nikolai Ehlers, as Rick Bowness said earlier in the morning when we were still on there doing the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, they talked about, or he specifically, talked about the number of game time decisions they had. And we knew that, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, of course, dealing with illness. He skated this morning, but we weren't certain about him. And then Nikolai Ehlers, who's obviously dealing with an upper body issue. He said that, he was available. He obviously, like I said, was in warm up and ready to go. And again, it was one of those scenarios where you're like, how good is Nikolai Ehlers going to be? But the problem with the Jets is right now, especially as they don't really have a lot of options. Kyle Connor, I know there's a lot of excitement that he was in a regular uniform, but that the Jets aren't going to try and rush him back, and they're going to want him to get some practice time in, which
he might not play until after the All-Star break. I mean, that's a possibility. I think, I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to happen, Dave, but I think you would agree the earliest he's probably going to come back is the first game against the Leafs, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you've built a huge cushion. There's no question about that. You're not, again, you can't rest on your laurels and just coast. But the fact of the matter is the Jets have done a good job of putting themselves into a solid position where you're not, again, like personally, especially with Mark Scheifele, because I think Rick Bowness said I listened to the media availability this afternoon, and he said something like, well, Mark was going to skate today, but he still felt something. So he didn't want to risk it. So if I'm the Jets, and of course the Jets aren't going to skate tomorrow, so I think they'll practice on Monday. But again, you don't want to rush Mark Scheifele back. You don't want to rush Kyle Connor back. You want to give those guys time to heal because you don't need any of that stuff becoming something greater. And that's, of course, the concern. And and I don't think the Jets wanted to bring Rasmus Kupari back, quite frankly. I think they wanted Rasmus Kupari to play some games in the minors still.
And he struggled a little bit tonight. And
yeah,
I mean, we're going to get into it in the Betway game recap. Obviously, we're only going to have a couple of goals to talk about, including none for the Jets. But I mean, like Adam Lowry, I think did an admirable job filling in for Mark Scheifele on the top line. And we don't think Scheifele's going to be out long term, right? Like, nope. I think we would be shocked if he misses more than a couple games. I think you mentioned it, or Drew mentioned it on this morning's show. Like, it's always a chance he misses the game against the Islanders and then plays against Ottawa, right? But if Lowry's filling in for Scheifele, I have no problem with that. And I thought, he was pretty good. He was driving the net, had a few scoring chances. Gabe Vilardi had the most high danger chances tonight. I thought he was the Jets' best forward. And I thought Cole Perfetti was pretty good for a guy who's apparently dealing with a wrist injury, right? So the Jets, they didn't take advantage of their power play opportunities. They obviously didn't get a lot of power play opportunities. And, the Flyers, who have, I think, the 31st or 32nd ranked power play, popped one in tonight, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a combination of, the Jets, dealing without having Mark Scheifele in the lineup, their top line center, but also facing a team that's playing some pretty good hockey. We talked about it. They came from behind and beat the Wild in overtime last night. Yeah, they're in the wild card race in the Eastern Conference with teams like the New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders, right? I think the Islanders are third in the Metro, but they're not comfortably third in the Metro. So and Samuel Ersson, like, we got to talk about this guy. Samuel Ersson now has more wins than Carter Hart, who's obviously the Flyers' clear number one goaltender, but Ersson's a guy who's 22, 23 years old. And you mentioned it, Dave, comparing it to Connor Hellebuyck. He's a fifth-round draft pick. So this guy is, I mean, he's playing some good hockey. I mean, I'm not saying that Ersson is, I'm not saying he's Dominic Hasek, and I'm not saying that, he's going to be a Vezina candidate this year, but he's giving the Flyers really good goaltending. His numbers are pretty solid. And like I said, he's won 11 games now. That's pretty impressive for a guy who's, who not a lot of people knew who he was prior to this season.
For sure. And we asked Anthony about him, and I'm not going to pretend like I had any insight into him other than to say to Anthony, I looked up his numbers on the website, on the Flyers page, but that was essentially it. And I was just curious, okay, give me, we know about Carter Hart. Let's have some insight into him. And you can see what they like about him. He's got a very good glove hand, as the Jets learned tonight, because I mean, they put a number of shots right to his glove, and he made the stop. So he looked good. And again, you're right. That was a hungry Flyers team. And to me, the Jets still look a little disconnected. I thought they looked disconnected against the Chicago Blackhawks on Thursday. And I thought, especially in that first and second periods, I thought they looked better in the third. But I thought in the first and second periods, they just didn't look like a connected bunch. And a lot of the passing was just not where where they thought they were going to be, but not where guys were. And so it was killing plays. And whether that was, from the Jets zone to the neutral to try and create something, or if it was something like on the power play where they, a guy would make a pass and you're like, okay, there should be someone there. There's no one there. It's going out of the zone and your momentum is getting killed. So, you weren't able to really build through the special teams. And, we touched on it, right? Or you touched on it, I should say. The Flyers, not exactly a special teams dynamo on the power play. I think
but they do have the top-ranked penalty kill.
I was going to say,
and that's the biggest difference, right,
kill,
between this year and last year. And I mean, improved goaltending helps, obviously, right?
Right.
Carter Hart's having a better year, and Samuel Ersson has been a better option as a backup goaltender, right?
Right.
But Travis Sanheim's having a good year. And obviously Jamie Drysdale, he's only played a couple games and didn't play tonight. But he's going to make the defense better. Igor Zamula is a guy that not a lot of people had heard of a few years ago. Yeah. And, he's out on the power play. We talked about it. He was out. He assisted on the game-winning goal in overtime yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So even Rasmus Ristolainen, I told you, Dave, I thought he looked okay. I realized Ristolainen is a guy that, Jets fans don't really like talking about because he was rumored to be coming to the Jets at one point when he was a member of the Buffalo Sabres a few years back, right?
Steelers for Ristolainen, straight up.
Yeah. And so, yes, Samuel Ersson was excellent tonight. There's no doubt that he was excellent. He had to make, several really good saves. Like there was that sequence, remember towards the end of the second period, where Gabe Vilardi and Adam Lowry had two really good chances in tight. He had to make some good saves. I think it was Morrissey who put the puck on net. And he made a good save on Vilardi in the first period, right? So, look, the Flyers deserve that win. The Flyers are a pretty good team. Like, I wouldn't want to play them in the first round.
No, and again, remember they're without Couturier, obviously a very good defensive forward, and they're without Jamie Drysdale. So I mean, they brought Stahl in, and Flyers fans were not happy reading some of the comments based on him being in the lineup tonight. But I mean, you have to do what you have to do, and I think
so. How many Stahls are left in the NHL now? 2,
I believe 2. Yeah.
Eric retired.
Yeah. But anyway, so you've got a situation where, look, like as he said, you got a hungry Flyers team. They're in the mix right now. They've got a nice spot in, like you said, as third spot in the Metro.
I think Jimmy Snuka's right here.
Well, I mean,
Drew's fault.
Everything's Drew's fault. We always say we pretty much chalk everything up to Drew's fault. Of course, this is the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's our second show of the day because if you started your Saturday morning with us, then you listen to us on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezra Ginsburg. We do this each and every time the Jets play a hockey game, and usually, lately, we've done it more often after a win than a loss, but we do it after wins and losses. So 82 times a year we will do this, and the Jets aren't going to win 82 games in a year. They're going to win a lot though this year. They're not just going to win 82. And tonight the Jets come up a little bit short against the Philadelphia Flyers, but we should probably get into the Betway game recap and then start. I mean, we don't have a lot of goals to go over. That's the only thing.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, because we were talking about this earlier before we get into the Betway game recap. The Flyers are actually third in the Metro now because they've leapfrogged. So sorry about that. That's how quickly things can change. The Flyers have 52 points.
Yeah, the Islanders have 48.
They have 48, but the Islanders actually, before last night's game, were in third because they had more regulation wins. Because Philadelphia now has 15 regulation wins. Philly has 15, Islanders have 14. So before last night's game, Philly had 13, the Islanders. That's why I thought that the Islanders were in third. But that just shows you both the Flyers and the Islanders are going to come in as desperate teams. And that's, again, that's a cliche, Dave, that's thrown around not just in hockey, but in sports. But the Flyers were a pretty desperate team. Like, there was a physical edge to this game. We talked about Garnett Hathaway, laid a big body check on Josh Morrissey in the third period. Nate Schmidt and Garnett Hathaway were going at it in the second period.
Folks will remember Garnett Hathaway fighting Dustin Byfuglien. Like, the guy's tough.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
And he's a decent hockey player. He actually can score goals.
Yep.
And contribute. He's not just he's not a goon. So I think this Flyers team, like, again, I don't think they're a Stanley Cup contender by any stretch of the imagination, but like, if you're, let's say, the New York Rangers, who could easily win the first in the Eastern Conference, first in the Metro, I don't think that's an easy out. Like, I wouldn't say that that's an easy sweep for the Rangers. I think the Flyers will, they'll give them a run for their money for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely a there's no question that they're a tough team. And again, they're missing Couturier, they're missing Drysdale. So those are two. Well, I mean, Drysdale's a more recent piece, but he could be potentially a very important piece for this Flyers club. So that's a good point made by you, Ez. And let's get into it. Let's get into what we call the Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap, as he is brought to you by Betway. No surprise. One of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. As don't forget, though, you must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly.
I turn 19 soon, Dave. I'm really excited.
Excellent. We'll have quite the 19th birthday for you. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, to be 19 again.
Come to my party. It's going to be awesome. But anywho, the Jets waiting to, getting started for that first period. The crowd was into it. Good crowd on hand. 14,005 something was in we're in the building tonight. So it was cold outside. It was warm inside, which was kind of nice. A nice change, if you will. And, the Jets were hoping to get off to a good start, and they actually did get off to a decent start. They got off, a number of decent chances, and that Urson really did seem like he was keeping his team, right? Like you could see that he was a good quality goaltender. And again, we don't have the benefit of watching him on the regular, so I didn't know what to expect other than what, like I said earlier in the show, what Anthony had told us. But you could see he's a pretty dialed-in guy, and as you said, as his numbers are comparable, and if not better in some categories than Carter Hart.
Yeah, and he had 24 wins for Lehigh Valley in the American Hockey League. That's not a team that obviously, I believe the Moose don't play them.
No.
Right, Dave? So,
no.
Because in the American Hockey League, for those who don't know, you don't play every team like you do in the NHL.
No.
You play teams in your own division, obviously more than you do in the NHL, right?
And the only crossover really for the Moose are against the Canadian Eastern
exactly
teams, not nobody else really.
Right. So, I mean, like you said, Samuel Ersson's not a guy in these parts that we would hear a lot about. But I think, a lot of Jets fans, I mean, look, it's like Karel Vermelka, right? Like how many people a couple years ago had heard of Karel Vermelka, right? And then he shuts out the Jets and now, he's a verb, right? So Samuel Ersson deserves a lot of credit for the shutout. He had to make a few saves good saves in the first period. And he did his job. Like, I think he got a little bit of puck luck, right? Like in that third period, you remember the chance, forget who had the point shot, and then it came over the net, and Lowry just couldn't get a stick on it. I think one of the Flyers defensemen might have got a stick on it. So, he was getting a little bit of puck luck, but he had to make several high danger saves, more so later in the game in the third period. But the Jets, what did they have here? I had it on Natural Stat Trick. I think they had a couple of high danger chances in the first period. The Gabe Velarde chance stands out to me. But that first period was not a great first period. And it was kind of like the first, couple periods of that Blackhawks game, Dave, crept into tonight's game.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets just didn't have a lot of traffic. There weren't a lot of second chances, no rebounds. And, you didn't have a lot of sustained pressure, right? Like we talked about it, like Lowry, Velarde, Ehlers, like they looked fine. Ehlers, Nemesnikov, and Iafallo, like they looked fine on the second line.
Yep.
But the third and fourth lines, I think there were a few shifts where the Mad line, they had some energy.
Yeah. It wasn't their best game though. I didn't think.
It just like not a lot of great scoring chances. Like there were few and far between. And I think you saw a lot more pressure in the later stages of the third period.
Yeah, no, and I don't think there's any question about it. You're right. The fourth line this is one of the first games that I could recall that they were really being hammed in on the defensive zone, and they weren't really creating a ton of chances. And one of the things that, again, I thought the Jets were doing a little too much of was passing. Gabe Velarde, you talk about that chance in the first period. I thought he had a perfect chance, and he waited just probably a little too long to put it on the net. And again, Gabe Velarde's a goal scorer. He doesn't have to take goal scoring advice from me.
Sorry, Mike, you're right. Of course, it's Perfetti, Nemesnikov, and Iafallo. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and I
said Ehlers twice. I had Ehlers on the top line and the second line, so my bad, Mike.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I mean,
I'm not rolling tonight like I should be.
That's okay. You, like the Jets, are a little disconnected from reality right now, but the fact of the matter is that, and look, the Jets had a power play. Was it 1 minute into that game? Tyson Forrester takes the hooking penalty against Alex Iafallo. So, the Jets power play could have gotten something started, in that first, and they are unable to do so. And again, that's it. It's just a testament to the power play. But, again, missing Mark Scheifele, and you're missing probably your most dangerous weapon on the power play. And Josh Morrissey tries to do a lot on his own. And we know that, Adam Lowry is, as you said, as he has accepted more responsibility, but it's at the same time, it's just, you don't have the dynamic player in Mark Scheifele. You don't have a dynamic player in Kyle Connor, and that's going to impact the way that power play
was struggling with those guys in the lineup.
Yeah.
Including Kyle Connor, who's obviously your best shooting option, right?
Right.
So the power play is something that, and we've been saying this for how long now, weeks and weeks, and you go back in previous years, right? Like, I mean, the Jets, the power play has been an issue for a long time. Maybe, with the exception of the kind of 2017 to 19 years, the Jets power play, like they haven't had the big, shot from Bufflin. They haven't had, that year that Patrick Laine scored 44 goals. That was the 17-18 season, was it not?
It was.
And I mean, it was like Wheeler, the cross seam pass to Laine. How many times did we see that, right?
A lot.
So it's a problem. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, the power play has to be better. Like, think about it. The late power play in the second period, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was who hooked Josh Morrissey? Tyson Forster. Yeah. Hooked Josh Morrissey, and then you had Nate Schmidt and Garnett Hathaway going at it, which I love to see. But that power play just didn't yield enough good scoring chances. And then the Jets, after Travis Sanheim puts it into the netting late in the game, there wasn't a lot of the Jets had some pressure, but it didn't look like a crisp power play. Mm-hmm. So I'm more concerned about the power play than the penalty kill. I think the Jets have a lot of good penalty killers, like both on defense and on forward. And obviously Hellebuck is the most important penalty killer. Yeah. And I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, Dave, but to me, the power play's got to be better. And obviously Scheifele's got to be healthy. Connor's got to be healthy. So you see, that first power play unit look like what you want it to be like. But the Jets have way too much talent up front, in my opinion, for them to have the 23rd or 24th ranked power play, whatever it is.
Yeah, look, the reality is the Jets have lost one game in their last 9, right? So we're not saying that the sky is falling here. We're just doing an analysis of this hockey game, right?
And Andrea's right. Sorry, Dave. Like, it seems simple, but when the Jets do have the most success, it's when Niederreiter's in front of the net, when Gabe Velarde's in front of the net, when there's traffic, right? Like, look at the Flyers. Like, their power play goal wasn't pretty.
Yeah. And
right. So
and I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat about the Jets being tired. I'm not arguing that. That's what the 9th game in, what was it, like 15 days or something like that? Like, whatever it is.
8 and 11, right? So
yeah, like the Jets have played a lot of hockey. So I'm not discounting that, and I'm not suggesting that the Jets aren't tired and they need a break. The only thing is, again, you really just have a little bit of a just a few more games to go before you're going to have a 3-day break between this game and the Ottawa game. And then really it stretches out. You've got basically, you've got the player break, then you've got the All-Star break. So the Jets are going to have like a 9-day rest there. So again, I understand what folks are saying in terms of the Jets are tired, and you can see it, right? Like I said, the passing is just not to the level that we're used to seeing, even removing the fact that Kyle Connor's not there or Mark Scheifele's not there. right now this Jets team just isn't connected. I think that's the easiest word I can use as, because it's the word that comes to mind when you're watching it. We're watching it. I'm watching every aspect of that hockey game tonight, and for the first 2 periods in the building, and of course for the third period here at the house. And again, like I said, just watching that team, and as does everybody else in this chat, right? Everybody else in the chat is there to watch, watches every minute. So to me, that just seemed like a team that was a little disconnected. And for the most part, for that first period, it looked like, even though the Flyers had the edge in shots and the edge in high danger chances, that it looked like it could be a 0-0 game until the 14:47 mark, when Cam Atkinson, who the Connecticut resident, or not resident, but born in Connecticut, he must love coming to Winnipeg, because he breaks his goalless streak of, what was it, as 24 games?
Atkinson hadn't scored. I remember it was mentioned by Harner Ryan Singh. He hadn't scored since November 11th.
Yeah.
So it's 20 plus games, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was something like that. And you've got to give him credit, because, you could see it. And we didn't realize it initially, of course, when he scored, because he did quite an exaggerated, monkey off of his back. But, this is just a play where the Flyers get into the zone. The Jets have some good pressure. And, the problem for the Jets is Dylan DeMello has that puck and he tries to put it into the corner. The Flyers take advantage because they're on the Jets and they're not giving the Jets any time and space. And then they throw what really, as he looks like, a fairly harmless shot at the front of the net. And you just got to give Atkinson credit. He just gets, finds himself some space after, setting that up. And then, he's in that soft ice, which we've been talking about for the Jets for so long with all these guys, and then just gets a stick on it. And I think Connor Hellebuck thought he had it, and then he realized it was behind him and in the back of the net. Yeah.
And look at Elkhorn, Manitoba's Travis Sanheim. He has a nice rush. He starts it off by bringing the puck into the zone, and he can kind of play that rover role a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think some people that don't maybe watch the Flyers play a lot think that, Travis Sanheim is this kind of like exclusively defensive defenseman. But Sanheim's got good wheels. He's got he has a good offensive side to his game, and he brings the puck in, and then it goes around, and he brings it in, and he circles the net, and the puck comes in front. And Cam Atkinson, before he scores his goal, he actually has a scoring chance before that, and then Hellebuck makes a save, and then it's one of those situations where the Flyers, they had some pressure. I think they were out shooting the Jets something like 14-7 or 13-7, something like that. Yeah. And, Cam Atkinson just kind of got behind the Jets defense, and it was just kind of a nifty redirection, right? Josh Morrissey was just kind of half a second too slow, and he didn't get a stick on it. And as you mentioned, Atkinson literally does the monkey off of his back goal celebration. I thought that was pretty funny. I like that. So, the Flyers at that point were outplaying the Jets. They were outworking the Jets. They had more scoring chances. They had more shots. And I think Hellebuck, that's one of those goals, like, it's kind of tough to stop those redirections, right? Yeah. But good for Atkinson and Joel Farabee. We talked about it. Farabee's the one who put the puck on net. Farabee had 2 goals yesterday, including the OT winner. He's a former first-round pick, right? He's having a breakout year. So, the Jets lost to a pretty good team. The Flyers, I just checked the standings, Dave. Mm-hmm. The Flyers are only 2 points behind the Rangers right now. The Flyers have 52 points. So, again, I'm not a Flyers fan. If anybody watches the Saturday show, you'd know that I'm a Devils fan. That's the little secret of Illegal Curve. I'm a New Jersey Devils fan. I don't think it's a secret.
A secret generally is something that not a lot of people know about.
I was joking.
Everybody pretty much know. You got Devils Stanley Cup rings, for God's sakes.
Yeah, exactly. And they're replicas, but I've still got them. That was a nice little present from you. You got me a little Scott Stevens ring when they won the cup in 2000. But so I'm not a Flyers fan. I'm just saying I'm giving the Flyers credit here. Yep. They're a decent hockey team, and like you said, this is without Jamie Drysdale and Sean Couturier. And yes, the Jets were without Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Just saying, this Flyers team, they could easily make the playoffs this year. They're currently in a playoff spot. So you got to sometimes just, say hats off to a team that, played well. And Cam Atkinson, obviously, he had the touch tonight.
Yeah, he definitely did. And after one period of play, the Jets are down 1-0, but 1-0 is the one thing I'll say about this Jets club is that you can tell, obviously, they'd rather be playing with a lead, but they're not uncomfortable playing down. And in the second period, we did see some uncharacteristic passes from this team. And I think, again, that leads itself to me, at least, to my conclusion, if I'm talking about my own observations, Ezzy, that this team was a tired team and that they just didn't have the legs, because a lot of the passing was just, I think of one play where Neil Pionk tries to get it up to Mason Appleton, who's at center ice, and Appleton's half turned around and he just misses it. And again, it wasn't going to set up a dangerous chance or anything like that. It ends up leading to an icing, though. And I just think it speaks to the fact that these guys are just, a step slow. And so look, they've played a lot of hockey throughout the course of this stretch. And you have two opposing things. You have one that's a tired team that's, again, that's the Winnipeg Jets. And then you got the Flyers, who have played 3 games in 4 nights, and 3 games in 4 nights, Ezzy, in 4 different cities. So again, it's 4 to 3 different cities. Sorry. But the fact of the matter is the Flyers are a team that is, doing the travel, and they have the more difficult. And remember, they had to cross the border yesterday. So, and then come to a lovely temperature controlled environment like Winnipeg right now.
And we've got a comment up from Dave Silva here, and I put it up because I think it's something that kind of needs to be addressed, Dave. I know we're going to get into the Cam Atkinson's second goal here.
For sure.
But
Ezzy, we got lots of time.
Yeah, we have lots of time because we don't have a lot of goals to talk about. You're right.
True.
But Rasmus Kupari, to me, is not it right now. I just think that, he only played the 1 game with the Moose, I believe, right?
1 game, yeah.
So, I mean, he missed some time. And I'm not saying that Rasmus Kupari necessarily needs to come out of the lineup. And obviously, Kupari could come out of the lineup if Scheifele's ready to go on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is 2 consecutive games where the Jets haven't played well. And the Islanders are going to come into town, and we talked about it. The Islanders are just out of a playoff spot. They're 4 points back of the Flyers in the Metro Division, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that the Islanders, they have talented players.
Yeah.
They're a pretty stingy team. They're a well-coached team by Lane Lambert, and previous to that, Barry Trotz, right? So the Jets kind of have to figure out this line mix here. And I'm not sure, what you do, because I wouldn't be surprised if Rick Bowness sticks with Adam Lowry on that top line with Gabe Vilardi and Nick Ehlers. But, Mason Appleton is struggling offensively right now.
Yep.
You're not getting, that production from the fourth line that you were getting. I'm not saying that the fourth line's playing bad. I'm just right. Like, something needs to give here. And, it'll be interesting to see, Dave, if, Rick Bowness changes up, that third line, and maybe you see a Morgan Barron elevated to the third line.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with it. To me, the guy who still looked good, and he still tried to create a little bit for this team, especially in that second period, as he was Morgan Barron. I thought, despite the fact that I didn't think the fourth line again, and you can see Axel Jonsson-Fjällby is just a step slower. He's just not to that same degree. He's just not that crispness. And again, you wonder how much of that illness is factoring in. But the fourth line, again, like I said, Dominic Conrado had a great chance, and he just, on the 2-on-1, he had a chance, and just nothing materialized. They just failed to really take advantage of opportunities that were in front of them. I thought that was probably a way I would look at this hockey game for this Jets club. So, I mean, you're down 1-0, and it's really not out of reach by any stretch of the imagination. But, you've got some penalty troubles in that second period. Neil Pionk, he gets a slashing penalty against Morgan Frost. And shortly thereafter, Cam Atkinson, he loves playing in Winnipeg. It's his favorite market, Ezzy, because he cleans up in front of the net. And that's what Jets fans were really saying for the Jets to do on the power play, right? Is just to get that shot through. Flyers took some time, and but they had 2 guys in front of. They had 2 guys behind Iafallo and Sandberg. So you've got Atkinson, and I think maybe Frost was beside him, but I'm not entirely certain. But the fact of the matter is, you had 2 Flyers in behind the Jets and creating position, creating confusion in front of Connor Hellebuck. And no, Frost took the shot, so it wasn't Frost, but it was Atkinson. And was it Konechny? were in front. And sure enough, I mean, you've got Sandberg and Iafallo who are essentially leaving them to their own devices. And they put it into the back of the net, or Cam Atkinson, I should say, put it into the back of the net.
Yeah.
And the Flyers have a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and this was a pretty, like, you just kind of broke it down. There's not much I can add, right? Like, Morgan Frost takes the shot, Hellebuck makes the first save, and the rebound goes to Cam Atkinson. So, I mean, and like you said, Travis Konecny's in front of the net. He gets behind Dylan Sandberg, and it was Alex Iafallo who was the other penalty killing forward, right? So, I mean, I guess we're giving that goal the Seagram shot of the game. Dave, let me know, because I've got my Seagram's fireball here, because it's in part, I'll give Cam Atkinson, a little bit of this shot, but it's more so to pour out a little liquor for the Jets' point streak and winning streak coming to an end.
There you go. Well, hold on, Ezzy. Let's cue that up.
The Seagram shot of the game.
So I've got my trusty big bottle of Fireball. By the way, Dave, this is getting a little empty.
Well, we've got another one. We've got another one in there.
We've got another one. Okay, nice. I thought we were going to have to hit up our friends at Seagram's.
No, well, I mean, we could do that too, but I wasn't going to tell you. I wanted you to go through that bottle before the other one. Our friends, of course, the Seagram shot of the game brought to you by our friends at Seagram. Fireball.
The only problem is, Dave, I can't get this off right now. Oh, there we go. I got it.
Well, everybody's enjoying that, but ignite the night, courtesy of our friends at Seagram's, as he tries to, give Cam Atkinson. And look, we'd give the Seagram shot of the game to one of the Jets players, but they didn't score a goal. So it goes to a member of the Philadelphia Flyers.
That delicious cinnamon Fireball whiskey. If you haven't tried Fireball, by the way, it is delicious.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you. Refreshing. There you go. Anyways, 2-0 for the Flyers. Cam Atkinson, again, after going this many games without scoring. And look, we'll talk about Mason Appleton because, of course, as T. Konopoli, let me get that in. As T. Konopoli reminds us, please drink responsibly, of course. But I mean, I thought that goes without saying because that's what we do here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show and the Illegal Curve Postgame Show. Regardless, Flyers are up 2-0. The Jets are down. And then the question becomes, can the Jets manufacture something? Can the Jets do what they did against the Anaheim Ducks when they were down 2-0? Can the Jets do what they did against the LA Kings when they were down 2-0? The Jets, again, comfortable in these types of games. They're not, generally speaking, chasing. But I thought today, again, going back to what I saw in that second period, Ezzy, I just saw a Jets team that didn't play to the style that we're used to seeing them play. Sure. And I think that's just a function of the lines being slightly off and guys being slightly off. But the reality is
battling through injuries. Like, we had a comment up earlier, talking about excuses, like, missing Mark Scheifele, but, Ehlers clearly wasn't 100%.
No.
Apparently, according to Rick Bowness, Cole Perfetti's not 100%, even though I thought he was one of the Jets' best forwards.
True.
And Axel Jonsson-Fjällby clearly, is dealing with a flu or whatever he's dealing with, a virus, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think he only played like 7 minutes or something, right, Dave? I know Morgan Barron, we were just talking about him. He played 10 minutes, but he gets out there on the penalty kill, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fourth line, and when you're chasing the game and you're down a couple goals, I mean, not just for the Jets, but any team, you're going to be playing a little bit less, the fourth line, right?
7-15 for Axel, you're right.
Yeah, so you're right. The Jets they didn't play very well through the first couple periods. And then, yes, they had their push. And then, the Flyers looked like the team that played the previous night, which obviously they did, right? Winning in overtime against the Wild. So, I do think it's a little bit of a concern that the offense has dried up. I really do. I don't think it's a concern long-term.
Yeah.
But look, you had the Chicago Blackhawks coming into town. They're one of the worst teams in the league. And you almost got shut out, right? It wasn't until Gabe Vilardi scored with 3.5 minutes left.
Yep.
And then obviously Ehlers finished it off shortly after, right? So, I mean, the Jets have only scored 2 goals in the last 2 games. So that's got to be a bit of a concern. And so obviously, Mark Scheifele's health is going to be something that we're going to be, tracking over the next couple days. And if they can get him back versus the Islanders, but, after that, you play Ottawa, okay. But then you've got games against Toronto back-to-back, and you've got the Bruins there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously the Jets are comfortably in a playoff spot, but I think they've got to kind of reset, have a day off, and then get a practice in, and then hopefully they come out with a better effort against the Islanders.
All right. Well, we thank Dark Moon. Dark Moon saying give this Legal Curve team a huge thumbs up, like and a like. They always do an amazing job making us fans happy being here. Well, thank you, Dark Moon. And thank you to all of you who are choosing to spend your Saturday night here with Ezzy and myself. Of course, we do this. This is the Illegal Curve postgame show you're listening to, and we do this after each and every single Jets game. Make sure you've smashed that like button, as Dark Moon says, and also please make sure you've subscribed to this channel. That also helps us. So Jets are down 2-0 after 40, Ezzy. And so you're wondering, what are they going to do? What streak is going to continue? What streak is going to come to a conclusion if they can't get something manufactured?
And I just wanted to throw out one thing. Sorry, Dave.
That's okay.
The fireball is strong in me right now.
Go ahead.
We talked about it earlier. That chance that Lowry and Velarde had, I think Velarde got the initial shot, and then Lowry had the second shot, and Samuel Ersson made the 2 pad saves there. That was late in the second period. And then obviously we talked about the power play that the Jets got late in the second period. And then the game started getting chippier, right? We talked about Schmitty and Garrett Hathaway were going at it. And there was a big hit. Trying to remember who hit.
Well, there was that one play in the neutral zone where Niederreiter went down, and it looked like Kupari came flying through the other way.
Yes,
and launched
that was in the
himself.
third, but in late in the second, it was Toninato who had a big hit on Zamula.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
so I
right.
mean the physicality picked up late in that second period, but I just wanted to mention that Lowry and Velarde had those 2 good chances, and again, Ersson was there, and they just they weren't. The bounces were not going their way. I mean, I realize people don't want to talk a lot about luck in hockey.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get the bounces, sometimes you don't.
And Elias McCracken is asking what's going on with Ehlers, not 100%. Elias, just to confirm, Rick Bowness said yesterday that Ehlers is dealing with an upper body issue right now, and that he was beginning to be a game time decision. So obviously he played, but yesterday he did leave the practice a little bit early. He came on the ice. I
agree with Urtax Wiz.
Okay.
Am I saying that right? Urtax Wiz? I have no idea what that means. That was a little tap on Pionk.
Sure.
I'm sorry. That was not. I mean, he's called. It was on Morgan Frost. I agree with Urtax Wiz there. That I thought that
which
was
led to the second goal of the game for the Flyers.
Just wanted to highlight that. I thought that I forgot about that. I wasn't taking my notes on my phone like I was after during the Jets Hawks game. But yes, I agree. That was a bit of a weak one.
Well, and Gabe Velarde was quite PO'd about I believe the play that led just before to Josh. Well, Josh Morrissey took the tripping penalty on Owen Tippett, but Gabe Velarde thought that there should have been a whistle because the puck was gloved ahead by the Flyers. So I think Gabriel Velarde was expecting there to be a whistle. There wasn't at the Jets blue line, and then Josh Morrissey took a penalty. Now nothing happened, but I guess you could argue that it killed the momentum or any ability to create a little momentum as they went to the PK. But look, at the end of the day, it's 4-0. It's 4-0, 2-0 after 40 minutes. Jets going into that third period, as you could see them start to get their legs and start to get a little of that momentum, and they started to try and create. And while the Flyers started to, I'm not going to say wilt because I don't think they were completely out, but Ersson was excellent, and he made the saves that he needed to make. And the Jets had some chances. I mean, Neil Pionk fires that one-timer that goes wide of the net. There were a number of opportunities. Adam Lowry putting one off the post, but ultimately,
Josh Morrissey stepped into one, and Ersson had to make a good glove save. I remember.
Yeah.
They had chances. There just wasn't a lot of traffic. There wasn't a lot of secondary chances. There wasn't a lot of. We didn't see the waves of offense like we've seen all year long. That's really what we're trying to say, and we didn't see that last night either. So you have to be a little bit concerned about that here, because yes, the winning streak was going to come to an end eventually. The point streak was going to come to an end eventually.
Yeah.
But I think it's the way that they've lost these last couple of games.
Well, they've only lost one.
They've looked. The way they've played the last 2 games. You're right. You're right. They beat Chicago. There's been a lot of hockey games lately, Dave. You got to forgive me.
And look, they were losing that game for 57 minutes, so you're fair. Right. It's a fair one on that.
Well, we had a comment up earlier that somebody said that it felt like a loss.
The Chicago game.
Yeah, because of the way they played. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, the Jets obviously preach the process a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the coaching staff will not be happy with the process. Or process, if you will.
Either one.
Process or process?
I would use it. I would interchangeably use them both.
I feel like this is like a Canadian versus British thing. Let's get it going in the chat. Process or process? Let's do a little bit of a poll here.
Should we do a poll? I can do an official poll, Ezzy.
Process has not been good.
The problem is they're both spelled the same way. So how would I know which one people are voting for?
Exactly. Good point.
Anyways, that is
can't be a scientific poll.
I mean, okay, I guess, look, the Jets obviously don't score any more goals. The Flyers hold on. That's only the second time the Jets have been shut out this season. The other time against the Dallas Stars, where they also lost 2-0. So the Jets don't get shut out very often. It's not something that happens against this hockey club. And you're right. I mean, the goal scoring, not surprisingly, if Ehlers, let's be realistic. If Ehlers is dealing with something and Cole Perfetti is dealing with something and you don't have Mark Scheifele and, you haven't had Kyle Connor for a while, I mean, the lack of scoring is going to be evident, but this has been a team that we've talked about for some time, that it's not just been your top guys who have been providing the offense. It's all across this lineup, and that's one of the benefits of this Jets club. So, I mean, it doesn't happen. Unfortunately for the Jets, they aren't able to manufacture anything. I mean, I guess as I could ask you just to kind of conclude this part of the show with the game recap, anything from the 6-on-5, which ended up being a 6-on-4 when Travis Sanheim took the unusual delay of game with the glove, knocking the puck out over the glass.
What stood out to me about that power play?
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't look as organized as you would like to see. That's kind of what stood out to me. It kind of seemed just not crisp.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been the story of the power play for much of the season, Dave. There have been some stretches where the Jets power play has looked good, and not having Kyle Connor is obviously a huge factor. Not having Mark Scheifele tonight was a huge factor. But like we talked about, I mean, the Jets have had a bottom 10 power play for the majority of the season. So even with Scheifele and Connor, I mean, look, I think you have to change what the looks that you're giving other teams. I think, we talked to Murad about this once. You hear a lot about triangulation, right? Basically trying to put other teams in basically where you have 3 players and then the other team only has 2 players, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that teams try to do that a lot. I think what you're seeing is some movement, but I just don't think that you're seeing enough. It's not quick enough. And I just don't think that you're it's not enough pressure. I feel like teams are defending the Jets power play too easily. And is that maybe because the Jets have, not enough shooting options? Perhaps. But that's when you get greasy. Put the puck on net, get some traffic. You have big bodies, right? Put Adam Lowry out there. I mean, I know he has been out there recently, but that's because of the injury to Scheifele, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Lowry's not a guy that, you're going to say is your number 1 power play option, right? So I think that the Jets maybe have to simplify. Whatever they're doing, Dave, is not working. So, I mean, I'm not the coach of the Jets. I'm not a hockey coach at all. So, they have to figure this out. And, a power play goal could have really changed the outlook of this game. We talked about it, right? The Tyson Forster penalty late in the second period. And, and then the power play, like you just mentioned, the Sanheim penalty for delay of game late in the third period. And the Jets had an extra 2 men. And I can't really remember that many great scoring chances that they had on that power play.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And look, we'll see.
I also just drank Fireball, so I could have also just forgot that they might have had a good scoring chance. But
for sure. I mean, look, ultimately at the end of the day, as folks in the chat have let us know, you can't win them all. Although the Jets for a while have looked like they can win them all quite easily because they were 8 games in a row prior to tonight. And again, points in 14 straight. Both those come to a conclusion. But of course, the Jets, 3 goals or less and 2 goals or less those streaks are maintained. Of course, and I should mention the streak against the Eastern Conference now officially over. And as Mike McIntyre, our friend from the Winnipeg Free Press, made note of, the next, I think he said 8 or 9 games are all against the East, Ezzy. So the Jets are going to be facing the Eastern Conference a fair bit. They're going to be putting that, the one regulation loss and many wins against those Eastern Conference teams coming up. But today, for this game, the Jets lose 2-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers. And of course, we should say thank you to our friends at Betway. They're they have brought the Betway game recap, of course, brought to you by Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway, Ezzy, and bet your way. You must be 19 years or older to play. And of course, as we always indicate, please play responsibly. Okay, folks, well, we are going to head to commercial break and thank the rest of our sponsors. But we want you to stick with us because, hey, maybe we'll talk about the Moose. We got a Tough Duck toque. And let me tell you, until next weekend in Manitoba, you are still going to need to win a Tough Duck toque from our friends at Tough Duck because it is freaking cold right now, and it is going to continue to be cold until next week when it becomes +1 or +2, so, or something like that.
The wind was vicious today, Dave.
It was very vicious. It was very vicious.
It was vicious and vicious.
It was both, and more importantly, it was a concern because I was waiting for you to pick me up. So right. I was standing outside, and you kept making all the stops. But anyways, let's head to
There's too many lights on Portage Avenue. That's the problem.
A lot of lights. There's a lot of lights. Anyways, this is the Illegal Curve postgame show. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We're going to head to commercial break. We'll be back right after these words from our sponsors.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life? Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code IllegalCurve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
Our listeners can use the code IllegalCurve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni.
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code IllegalCurve, all one word, to park for free.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit LindenMarketDentalCenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
This January at Boston Pizza, every day is Pasta Tuesday. That means BP's famous pastas start at just $11.99 every single day. Create your own or go gourmet for just a few bucks more. Come on in for Pasta Tuesday pricing any day. Only this January at Boston Pizza.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Manouk. I almost said I'm Ezra Ginsburg, but I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezra Ginsburg. Drew Mandel away from the show tonight. He'll be back on Tuesday. We discussed in the first 55 minutes of the show, as you're chewing something, but a little granola bar.
Yep.
We discussed.
Well, I needed to have a little snack. I'm hungry. I haven't had dinner yet.
You didn't.
Sorry, I haven't had my second dinner yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't do what I did. We had a little bowl of cereal before the post-game show got underway. But look, the Jets fall 2-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers. I almost said the Oilers, but Philadelphia Flyers, and their first loss in some time. And so they'll move on. They're off tomorrow, and they will be back on Monday. I was looking at some of the comments. Our friend Ken Weeb of Sportsnet, but it's of the Winnipeg Free Press. He asked Rick Bowness, head coach Rick Bowness, and if you want to see Rick Bowness's post-game media availability, that is, of course, available on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following along with that, and it'll be on illegalcurve.com. He asked, is anything to be taken from Kyle Connor being in a regular jersey this morning? He's getting a lot closer. He'll probably be in a regular jersey on Monday. Well, I'd hope so if he was in one today. Might he be an option for Tuesday's game versus the Islanders? Kenny asked. At this point, I don't know. He hasn't had a full contact. Well, he wrote contract, but I suspect he meant contact. Practice. We'll see where he is on Monday. But yeah, I'm not so sure. So no surprise, Rick Bowen is not revealing too much in that regard. But the Jets.
It also doesn't really. I mean, Dave, you've been at practice.
I have.
So you would know better. And you mentioned that Kyle Connor has looked basically like you would expect him, like looking fast. And playing on a line with Scheifele, right?
Yep. Well,
so taking rushes.
He's skated with Mark Scheifele a number of times,
right?
For sure.
So I just think that, to me, it makes more sense that the first game that he would come back would be either the Ottawa game or the game against they play Boston and then the Leafs, right? I just think Tuesday would, to me, seems a little bit unrealistic. But again, I mean, Kyle Connor is a professional athlete who's in excellent physical shape.
Yeah.
If it was me we were talking about, I would be out of the lineup for another year.
Yes.
So, I mean, again,
but you wouldn't be in the lineup in the first place.
Exactly. I would not be in the NHL in the first place, or any professional league for that matter, Dave. You're right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just a hunch, but Tuesday seems a little bit too early for me. Because you just shed the no contact jersey a few days ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
well, technically today. I mean, today's the first. I mean, we saw them. He was wearing it yesterday. Today's Saturday. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. I was there yesterday.
What's the rush to get him back in? The Jets are 12-1-2 in their last 15, right?
No, there is no rush. I mean, and again, the last thing you need is to do anything that's going to potentially set him back. So, I mean, let's be realistic. The Jets coaching staff, it's not a need, right? Kyle Connor is not a need. He's a luxury at this point, to be honest with you, because you don't need him in that lineup right now. Your team has won a significant number of games without him. So right now, the last thing you want to do is take any risk with Kyle Connor. So I don't think that's going to be a situation that they're going to take lightly. I think they're going to be smart about it. And, David Gustafson's kind of a weird one, because we kind of were under the impression, not surprisingly, that it didn't seem like it was going to be that significant. But I mean, his injury took place against the Bruins on that game, December 22nd. So we're 3 weeks already where he's still been in that yellow non-contact, and he was in that yesterday. And unlike Kyle Connor, he remained in that today when they hit the ice for today's optional morning skate.
We also don't have any real insight into what the injury was,
no,
right? I think is it lower body or is it upper body?
It's a lower body injury. So I'm not certain what it would be. I guess I could go back and do some investigation to see, when his shifts were, if he stopped taking.
Well, you're going to have to go back 3 weeks then, right?
I've got the game's PVR'd as I can always check it out. That's not an issue. But if anyone in the chat knows, that would save me some time and energy. So I wouldn't be upset with that. But the Jets lose tonight 2-0. And like I said, their first loss in some time, unfortunately for them. But as I was going to say, unfortunately, losses for one of the other teams in this city are becoming a little too frequent.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
The Moose, unlike the Jets, their streak is going one way and only one way, and that is a losing streak. And they came into today's game in Laval, the third game of this 3-game road trip, and they had lost 7 games going into it. And that streak did not change for the Moose. It was a tighter game against Laval. They looked okay. I watched the game today, obviously on AHL TV, and it was, you're dealing with injury. Ville Heinola made his season debut for the Moose, so that was a good sign. He was able to make some of those stretch passes that this team has seemed incapable of making. But ultimately, they've got some youth up the middle, and that's, I think, costing them right now. The defense isn't helping, and neither is the goaltending. And before they knew it, and before you knew it, not really, but unlike yesterday, it wasn't as quick. But they were down 3-0. Christian Reichel got kind of a lucky goal, a seeing eye shot where he just shot it through traffic to make it a 3-1 game. Actually, the assist went to Ville Heinola. And then Ville Heinola they pulled the goaltender, they pulled Colin Delia, and so they were trying to make it a 3-2 game. And the pass came around the wall to Ville. He tried to take it, stop it, missed it. And so then, as he's trying to recover the puck, or he had it, and then he tried to dish it off, went softly because there was some pressure, gets into the neutral zone and then into the Moose end, and he gets caught, stick lifted, empty net. So he had his pocket picked. So the Moose ended up losing 4-1. It was unfortunate for the Moose, but more importantly and more destructively, Brad Lambert got blown up, obliterated. If you saw it, and look, I thought it was a clean hit. He's going to learn a lesson. You got to keep your head up. And he got just destroyed open ice. And I was told that he cut himself in his visor, which is why he left the ice. But he was probably a little woozy too after that.
Scored a beauty goal last night, though.
Scored a beauty goal. Yeah, you're right, with the power play. But he tried to do something similar because this was a power play opportunity for him. And next thing you know, he got pretty obliterated. So you're hopeful for him and for the organization that he's okay, because he's the leading scorer on the Moose, tied with Nikita Chibrikov in terms of points, but he's got the most goals. But we'll see. They'll be back in town. They start a 4-game set here in Winnipeg, and more importantly, as I was informed by the Moose today, divisional rivals. So they're going to be playing Grand Rapids. They're going to have a chance, I think, over the course of the next 9 or 10 games to really try and make some hay, gain some ground, because
they have to go on a run. Yeah, they have to win all these 4 games because they're what are they, 8 games under 500. And I wanted to throw in one thing, and obviously I don't watch the Moose very often, Dave, like you do. But I mean, the goaltending, again, I'm not singling out the goaltending as the other reason, because I do think the Moose are they lack some consistent veteran forwards. And obviously Dominic Toninato, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, I mean, they were with the Moose to start the season, but they're obviously up with the Jets now. You lost Jansen Harkins to waivers, right? Was it waivers or was it a trade? I forget. It was waivers.
No, waivers,
right?
waivers.
Yeah. So Jansen Harkins, I mean, he was a point per game player for the Moose last year, right?
Oh yeah.
When he wasn't with the Jets. But the goaltending, like Colin Delia and Oskari Salminen, like both of their save percentages are sub 900.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, like a young team like the Moose.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Dave, if you know this, but I don't know how they compare to other teams in the American Hockey League.
They're one of the youngest in the American Hockey League.
They have to be, right? Like guys like Danny Zhilkin and we talked about Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov. Like, I think it's telling that their top 2 goal scorers are 20-year-olds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 19, 20-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So like the goaltending to me is, and you don't have a guy like Thomas Milic is playing pretty well.
But he just actually left the game in Norfolk and was injured. I don't know how significant.
Know that, but I think I was checking his record. He's 9-3-3.
Yeah, his numbers have been good.
His numbers have been good, but he's a first-year pro, right? He was playing for Seattle, of course, for those who don't know, in the dub last year, right?
Right.
So, I mean, the goaltending, I mean, at the end of the day, like, sometimes you have to steal a game when your team is struggling. And Colin Delia has played a lot of hockey in the American Hockey League.
Mhm.
Oskari Salmonen's a younger goaltender who's played less in the American Hockey League because he was playing in the Finnish Pro League.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that is kind of something that I've noticed about the Moose through the first 30 games is like, the goaltending's got to be better.
I think it's a fair assessment, but I think it's not just, this team it's more than just that. Of course, I think the goaltending is one area I actually thought, because they had those two guys, would be something that would bail out a fairly young team up the middle. And look, they need more from their veterans and they need more from their defense, which again, with Villahinola is going to help them. There's no question about it, but this team needs to go on a run, and that's what it comes down to. And we'll have tickets to give away again, because there's not a game between Tuesday and Saturday's Jets games. I'll probably give them away on Twitter. So make sure you're following along. I see Dave. I put them out there, and the truth is, within 5 minutes, tickets, once I put them up there, they're usually gone. So that's something to look forward to this week. And of course, we've got a Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. So I'm assuming, do you have that queued up Or
I do. Just before you hit the bumper, Dave, another thing I was going to throw out there is, wouldn't it be nice if the Moose had Declan Chisholm right now?
Oh, man.
And again, I realize that, Declan Chisholm's up with the Jets and he's not waiver exempt, right?
Yep.
But, I just feel like there's a lot of players that, could be available for the Moose that aren't right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would help them, get some wins. So that's all I wanted to throw in there. I mean, I don't think Declan Chisholm is going to be going down to the Moose for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's another guy that last year, I mean, you've been documenting this. Declan Chisholm, was he not their best defenseman last year?
Yeah. Well,
you don't have him this year.
And look, the reality is they lost Villahinola, Declan Chisholm, and Leon Gavanke. Right. Those three guys alone would have changed this whole configuration. But you have to deal with what is your reality, and that's no longer an option for this Moose club. So the Moose are going to try and get back to Winnipeg and then get loose throughout the course of this week. They'll be practicing at Hockey for All, I would imagine. And we'll have that covered on illegalcurve.com. Wasn't it tonight, HNIC? We didn't reference it was an HNIC game.
HVAC.
Yeah.
HVAC.
But anyways, they'll be there and we'll have that covered on our YouTube channel and of course here on illegalcurve.com. But right now, we've got to go to this.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Lots of good comments here tonight. Kenny's water bottle was letting us know how to pronounce process, if you will. But I'm going to give it to a comment. This was a little bit back, about 15 minutes ago or so. Palmer Lane 89. Can the Jets hire a specialist to work with the team on the power play or the PP? The PP is a big problem. Teams without a lot of talented players have more affected PPs than the Jets. I agree with Palmer Lane 89. I'm much more concerned about the powerless power play than I am about the penalty kill, because the Jets had one of the best penalty kills in the NHL last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we obviously know the Jets are one of the top defensive teams in the league. So I'm not as concerned about the penalty kill. I think if the Jets had an even slightly better power play, I mean, they would have even more points than they already have. And they're obviously in first overall. So
second overall.
Canucks, second overall now.
The Canucks beat the Sabres today. So the Jets slide to number 2.
Okay. We're number 2. Palmer Lane 89, send me an email. Send it to Ezra at illegalcurve.com, EZRA at illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs on Twitter at ICSEG with your mailing info, and Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you because, as Dave mentioned, Winnipeg is back. The mild winter is over. It's minus 30 again outside.
Until Sunday.
Have your shovels around on standby because it's supposed to snow again. But as Dave mentioned, it's supposed to get a little bit warmer, but not that much warmer.
There you go. Well, we're staying warm because I got a toasty fire above me, Ezzy, and you're staying warm because you're drinking Fireballs. So as a result, that's our methodology of staying warm. And we stay warm because we got the love and affection of all of you here in the chat when you join us each and every time we do these games. I'm hoping Frosty will have the sponsors list up soon. Frosty, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But like I said, every time we do the Jets play, we have an Illegal Curve post-game show. And of course, every Saturday is time for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the big 15th anniversary show coming up next month. That's going to be a fun one. We got some special things planned for you. 15 years of the Illegal Curve Hockey
There you go,
Show.
Dave. Frosty's got the sponsors up.
17 years of illegalcurve.com started
15.
in
the website.
The website.
You're right.
2007.
17 years. That's right.
Yeah. We got to be one of the oldest websites out there, Ezzy, but
We're old, Dave. That's what happened. We got old.
It's true. Anyways, our thanks to our friends and our sponsors, of course. Big thank you to all of them. The sponsors of Legal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the aforementioned website a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Grid Park. Use the code Illegal Curve to park for free. Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Farmery Beer, the home of the IC beer. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. All right, Ezzy, it's been a great show. Thank you, 7JP7B. I agree with you. It has
always
been
a great show when Drew isn't here.
Well, when you and I have the conch, it's always a little fun.
And it's going to be nice to find out how, Drew's sound bath went.
Yes, if you
I'm
listen
sure it
to
was
the Saturday
relaxing,
show.
meditative.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was eating a hot dog during the whole thing. And mustard was going all over his clothes. But it was a good little show, and we're going to have a little bit of a break before Tuesday night when the Jets play the Isles.
Yeah. So we thank you for joining us because win or lose, the chat is what makes this show each and every time for us, Ezzy and I, especially now that Ez has power over the chat. Before he just got to admire it. Now he gets to help usher in your comments, which he enjoys, of course. And we enjoy being able to chat with you guys you folks, I should say, each and every time we go live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Well, like I said, it's been a long Saturday, so we're gonna end this show, and we'll be back on Tuesday after that Jets game against the Islanders.
I like what Frosty's got cooking here: taco, chips, salsa, and wine. I'm not a big wine drinker, but I like the first three things.
There is an Illegal Curve wine. We don't have any affiliation with it. Someone once sent me a bottle. It's out of BC. I've got it in my wine cupboard, which is
how funny is it that there's an Illegal Curve wine?
Yeah. It's a BC winery that made it. I can't remember the name of it actually, who did it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But I just thought it was funny that there's an Illegal Curve wine. But since I don't drink wine, especially, it's sitting in one of my cupboards. As I'm sure you'll get to it eventually.
This is a Fireball household, Dave. It's not a wine household.
Exactly. We're not winos. But anywho, unless Stephen Wino is a guest on one of our shows, who he has been in the past. Anyways, we are ambling, and somehow we have kept this show going, even though we anticipated that we were going to be done. So I'm Dave Manouk. He's Ezra Ginsburg. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you subscribing. We appreciate you hitting that like button. We appreciate you leaving comments. And until Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay warm, our friends, and we will talk to you again on Tuesday after the Jets and Islanders. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good rest of your night.